Okay. Let's get into it. Mitigation Moneyball. What I want to talk about is the word impossible. My experience, my early career, I was very much, I believed in this word. In my later career, this word turned into this word. Because when you talk about, you can have two mindsets, that everything is hard and you have to figure out everything and things that are outside the norm are things we should avoid, or you can live a life where you create your own possibilities. Do you believe in what's possible? Let me throw a scenario out to you. What if I told you that somewhere in the United States there was a restoration contractor who had water damage technicians who made $75,000 a year? This same restoration contractor does not have an Xactimate estimator on staff. Is that possible or impossible? It's possible. It's very probable, and it actually exists. There's some Service Master franchises in the LA area that are doing just that. And I believe CertPro is looking into something like that, maybe. So, why aren't more people going in this direction? Because it's scary. Change is scary. Change is dangerous. Change involves risk. And in my experience, in my opinion, the biggest obstacle to change and moving our companies forward is our fear of that change and what might happen. I'm going to tell you about how I got through my fear. Like I said, 9 years ago I was working for Harborough. I was making a ton of money. I was at the top of my game. I was made more money that year than I'd ever made in my life. I'd worked my way up through the ladder, worked through several restoration contractors, and I was unstoppable. I was a golden boy, at least in my own head. Also, I had some very significant character defects, which led to my demise. 2009, I was fired from Harborough in my regional position for conduct unbecoming. Let's just leave it at that. And I found myself looking for a job, so I scrambled. I had a family, I still have a family, and I needed to go. I needed to find someplace else to work, so I jumped on board with a company called Horizon Restoration. I was there as a project manager, took a significant pay cut, but you do what you got to do when you're supporting your family. And 13 months later, I was fired. 12 months after that, they went out of business, so I was kind of the last man in, first man out scenario. But once again, 13 months later, I'm looking for a job. So I jump again. I go on LinkedIn. I go, just beat the streets, and I find another job for another contractor. That lasted 12 months. Then I was fired. Not for conduct unbecoming, but just because they didn't have the volume in the store that they were hoping to get that year, and last guy in, first guy out. 3 years in a row, right around Christmas time, I'm looking for a job. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it again. I started claims delegates, independent estimating. I started writing sheets for contractors. And it was going pretty good. But as anyone you guys know, when you go out on your own, there's a lot of risk there. You're going and you're starting a business that no one's ever heard of, no one believes in. It's really hard. But I did it for a year and a half, 2 years. And then things just got tight. My wife said, Andy, this is not working. Accounts receivable was up here, cash flow was down here, and we said, you know what? We're going to make a different decision. We're going to kind of push claims delegates off to the side. I'm going to go get a real job. So that was 2013, 2014. So beginning of this year, we made the decision to close down our business, my claims delegates business, and went to work for Service Master franchise in Bend, Oregon. Took a significant pay cut again. Going in the wrong direction here. So, but things were all right. Bend, Oregon is a beautiful place to be, and we were happy there. The kids are happy there, and my boys are 5 and 6 this year. And so it seemed all right. It seemed like we made the safe decision. This is part of the story I was hesitant to bring up, but I think it plays in well, so I'm going to breeze through it. November last year, my 6-year-old nephew is killed by his mom, who threw him over the bridge in Newport, Oregon. That takes me out of service master for about 4 weeks. That's something that's not supposed to happen. That's something that doesn't make any sense. In this world where we're trying to make all these right decisions and make sure everything is planned, that sort of thing shouldn't happen. But it did. What happened after that is almost worse. There's nothing worse than that. But I get back from Thanksgiving, the worst Thanksgiving we've ever had as a family. 2 weeks into December, my boss comes to me and says, Andy, you're gone. Is that 5 strikes? I lost count. So, as the slide says, January 1, 2015, I'm looking at paychecks, I'm looking at lack of paychecks, I'm looking at the balance statement I had as a family, and we're at 4 weeks from broke, literally. 4 weeks from January 1, I was looking at what payments do I make or don't make? Which car do we pay on one car, not another car? We're going to miss rent. And that gripping fear prevents you. It prevented me from making any real decisions until I turned a corner and I said, I'm going to accept that fear. I'm going to accept it for what it is. And no matter what I do between now and 4 weeks, February 1, no matter what I do, I might be bankrupt. And as soon as I accepted that, the possibilities opened up. I was able to do some crazy things. Crazy things. What's a project manager doing? Writing a book. I wrote a book. But that's not the cool part. The cool part is people bought it. People bought it today, actually. I brought some here. I'm not here to pimp it, but I bought some. I brought some. I started a podcast. People listen to it. Thousands of people have listened to my podcast this year. That's not supposed to happen. That's scary stuff, putting yourself out there. I wrote a video series, made a video training series. People bought that before I even made it. I put it on the web with my book and said, I might make a video series, so I'm just going to put it out here. $300, that sounds good. People bought it, and I was like, crap, now I got to make a video series because I don't have one. These things wouldn't have happened if I was still sitting in that pit of fear of change, fear of the unknown. Because, well, what happened was probably the worst thing that ever could have happened. What's the word? How much worse can it get? It can't get any worse. So when we're open to change, we're open to possibility. Another cool thing happened. There's a race called the Hood to Coast in Portland every year. It's a 300-mile relay race from Mount Hood, Oregon, all the way to the coast in Seaside. It's 300 miles. I had a friend call me up July 17th or so, mid-July, and say, hey, we got a spot on our team. You want to race? Here's a guy who's 260 pounds. I'm not 260 pounds now. I haven't run seriously for 20 years. But I thought about, this is something I kind of wanted to do, sort of. And I said, what would London do? London, my nephew, was severely autistic. And what he did was whatever the hell he felt like. Because he didn't care. Autistic people don't have any sense of what you might feel about their decisions. They just do what they feel is right. So I did what I felt was right. I said, all right, I'm in. Oh, crap. 6 weeks later, and 25 pounds later, I'm running the Hood Coast, doing something I couldn't even believe that I was capable of physically 6 weeks before that. But I wasn't satisfied with that. 6 weeks after that, my friend says, hey, there's a triathlon coming up. You want to do a triathlon? Why not? I did a triathlon 6 weeks later, another 5 pounds lost. I came in 4th in my age group in my first triathlon. And there's my boys and my buddy who has an advantage of being 10 years younger than me. Distinct advantage. But his age group was much faster. So here's a 40-year-old guy who was overweight, out of shape, and broke. But I'm here to tell you, I'm not broke anymore because I'm not afraid. And what I'm going to talk about today is going to be a little bit scary When you talk about taking someone, a water damage technician who's making $12 an hour and saying, hey, you're going to make 75 grand. A lot of us can't even fathom that. But I'm going to walk you through it, and hopefully by the end it won't be so scary. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't have any other choice. My second leg of the hood to coast, middle of the night, running through the rain and the wind, my body said no. And I said, no, I can't do it. And then I realized this came to me. What choice do I have? It's not like there's a bus here that's going to come pick me up. I'm 3.5 miles from either end. I better keep running. And I did. And I finished the hood to coast with an average mile time of 8 minutes and 30 seconds, which is amazing for me because when I started out in mid-July, I couldn't run a mile without stopping. All right, heavy stuff. Let's talk about baseball, okay? We've got the heavy stuff out of the way. How many Royals fans do we have in the room?
You're in Toronto.
You're in Toronto.
Gotcha. Well, it was a setup. So if anyone said me, I was going to say, well, who's your team last year? So Billy Beane was a general manager of the Oakland Athletics for the mid-'90s through the mid-2000s. And he had a 2001 year where they went to the playoffs and lost in the first round to the Yankees. They also lost that year 4 of their best players, including that year's All-Star. I think it was Jason Giambi. So here's the Oakland A's, the bottom of their league, really. The salary cap was probably second to last. And he was in a position of having to replace 4 great stars with a budget that didn't support it. So he didn't. He did something else. He changed the game. And through what he did, it's changed the game of baseball going forward. He found this guy. I wish the audio was working because this is a great video clip. He found this guy with the Indians. He went to the Indians looking to trade players, and the Indians shut him out and said, no, you can't have anyone. You can't afford any of our players. And it was mainly to do, oh, you can't even see this. Now we're intimate. Right? No. No. Oh, good Lord. All right. Let's do that and this in a sec. Whatever.
Let's put us in the dark. It's all good.
There you go. All right. You're gonna have to be quiet to hear this.